We're waiting for everybody to file in here. Please come in and take a seat. There are seats in the front and over to the side. Please come on in. And welcome to the City Council meeting. I'll call this meeting to order. May I have the roll call, please?
Councilmember Elliott.
Here.
Councilmember Garcia. Here. Councilmember Fitzhenry.
Here.
Councilmember Sandal is absent this evening. Mayor Gotel.
Here. And tonight we have a full house. I think there's a few more seats. A few more people want to come in. I'm going to give it just a couple more minutes. I'd like everybody to come in and be quiet, to be seated, because we're going to do the Pledge of Allegiance. Would everybody please join us and stand? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you, everyone, and it's nice to see a full room. Come on in, there's a few more seats up front. At this time, I would ask approval of the minutes of the special City Council meeting of January 22nd, 2013, the regular City Council meeting of February 12th, 2013, and the special City Council work session of February 19th, 2013.
So moved.
Second. Oops.
Any discussion, Council?
All thirded.
Okay, all those in favor signify by aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Well, tonight we have a very full room because we have some very special presentations coming on, and I will introduce our police chief, Todd Sandell, and our fire chief, Wayne Kiewicz, here to do this and start this presentation.
Thank you, Mayor. Madam Mayor and City Council members, it is a special night tonight, and it's with great pleasure I bring you this award presentation. But first, I think we need to recount the event that occurred. During a severe winter storm on December 9th, 2012, Richfield emergency personnel responded to an unknown 911 emergency call in the 7300 block of Garfield. First officer to arrive on the scene was Sergeant Chromeshoulder. He was met by Brianna Reinhardt and Brian Newkirk, who advised him that a child was drowning in an in-ground pool in the backyard of that residence. The three of them then had to break down a section of 6-foot privacy fence to gain access to the yard. Once in the backyard, they observed two children in the water. An 8-year-old boy was struggling to stay above the surface of the water in the shallow end of the pool, and a 6-year-old female was unconscious in the deep end of the pool. Both Sergeant Chromeshoulder and Brian Newkirk jumped into the frigid 32-degree water. Brian, with the assistance of Brianna, were able to get the 8-year-old boy out of the shallow end of the pool. Sergeant Chromeshoulder went into the deep end to rescue the 6-year-old girl. The bottom of the pool was slippery, and subsequently Sergeant Chromeshoulder lost his footing, and he found himself fully submerged in the icy water. As he struggled to retrieve the girl, he was finally able to regain his footing, and with the help of Brianna and Brian, they were able to get the child to the edge of the pool. At poolside, in blizzard conditions, soaking wet from head to toe, Sergeant Chromeshoulder immediately began to administer CPR on the unconscious child. Sergeant Chromeshoulder was then joined by Richfield Officer Greg Peterson. The two of them continued to administer CPR until they were relieved by Richfield firefighters and Hennepin County paramedics. The children were transported to HCMC, where the boy was treated for hypothermia, and the young girl remained in critical condition in the intensive care unit for over a week. However, due to the extraordinary efforts of both Brianna Reinhardt, Brian Newkirk, and all the first responders, both children have made a full recovery and have no long-term health effects. This was truly a team effort by all Richfield first responders and two of our outstanding citizens. And at this time, I'd like to call all of them up front here, and we'd like to present some awards. So, please.
Could you introduce them as they come up too, so we know who's here?
Go ahead. We're going to just line you up right in front of the council there.
Right in front of us, please. Turn around.
We
for
don't
cameras.
mind you taking our view.
Yes, take over, right here.
I'm going to slide to the side so I can see. Yep. We'd like to recognize Department Commendation for Captain David Quibido, Firefighter Charles Russell, Firefighter John Wolfgram. Firefighter Joseph Halaska. Hennepin County Paramedics Amber Brown and Kent Colon.
We'd also like to recognize Brianna Reinhardt and Brian Newkirk. They will receive a Departmental Commendation Award for assisting the arriving officers, directing them to the scene, rescuing the boy from the swimming pool, and assisting Sergeant Chromeshoulder. We'd like to present a department commendation to Richfield 911 dispatcher Lynn Warner, who filtered through several unclear 911 calls, remained calm during the incident, and immediately dispatched the public safety first responders. We're also going to give a department commendation to Officer Greg Peterson for his life-saving efforts involving a 6-year-old female. And finally, the Richfield Police Department is proud to present Sergeant David Chromeshoulder with the Department Medal of Merit for his self-sacrifice, devotion to duty, without regard for his own personal safety, when he rescued the unconscious 6-year-old boy from the swimming pool and immediately began to administer CPR. I probably should have gotten this out first. Great honor. Now our two young victims are with us here tonight. Naomi is quite shy, and I asked her if she would like to come up front, and she declined. But Enar said he would like to say a few words. So Enar, are you still shy or want to come up? No, I guess the crowd overtook him. So thank you very much.
Congratulations.
We'll let the crowd kind of come. I know there's a lot of people here who want to congratulate all those guys outside, and I'm sure there's a nice reception. Thank you all for coming for this celebration. It's really great to see this. Thank you so much. Thank you so much for what you do for Richfield. You know, it's not often we get to say what a great fire department, police department, and what public service really means to a community. This is one of the evidence of what that really means. This is wonderful news and a great outcome from a story that could have been quite tragic. Council comments?
You know, I remember reading the article, but the news seems to fall off.
Turn on to it, your mic.
News seems to fall off, and you don't follow up when you see the people that actually saved some lives and acted according, and I mean, without concern for themselves or anything else. So we all read about it, but you don't read about the people that really made this outcome such a wonderful event. And that's, I wish there was a little bit more of the follow-up on news, and you take what could have been a potential tragedy and turn it into a heroic effort. And I think these people deserve their accolades now, and I'm glad that we had an opportunity to at least honor them this evening.
Yeah, that was wonderful.
I know Todd forgot one thing. Dave dived in with his whole gun belt on, too.
Oh, my God.
And his vest. So add another 30 pounds to what you got in the water and try to figure out how you stay buoyant. So I don't know. He's got to be one heck of a swimmer there.
Yeah, maybe.
And his radio, I think, too.
Yeah, well, we didn't want to mention that because
No.
Steve's kind of upset about what
I'm going
happened.
to say, city manager looking at the repairs there.
Has
Huh?
to repair.
Oh,
And I thi-
we also should mention the citizens, you know, the neighbors, because, you know, they're really very vigilant when it comes to protecting their neighborhood, and and their neighbors.
Yeah, if it wasn't for their quick thinking, this could have turned out very differently as well.
Exactly.
Yeah, they helped a lot. So, what a wonderful story. What a great time. This is time for, it's hard to follow that, huh, with council discussion. Hats off to hometown hit. Pat, I'm going to let you start.
You know, I was thinking about it today. I didn't have anything in particular other than the fact that there seems, in the last week or 10 days, myself and other council members have participated in various meetings about what's coming up, some of the planning that's going on, the goal setting. And I think it ties in with what we saw here. There's kind of a feeling of pride, exuberance about how this city acts, how it reacts, what we've got on the table, what's moving forward. And I think it ties in nice. We're starting to hit some warm weather. There's a feeling of confidence. Spring's coming. There's an overall good feeling that I feel right now, just from some of the enthusiasm and excitement I've seen at the meetings and being out and about and knowing that we're on the cusp of continuing to move forward on to bigger and better things. And I think it's just an exciting time to live in Richfield.
It is. It is. Edwina?
Well, you know, I have been attending a lot of the commission meetings, not just the ones that I'm a liaison to, and they're going through the process of, you know, electing the officers and then planning for, you know, their year-long projects that they're going to be undertaking. And it just amazes me that, you know, the passion and the contribution that these commissioners really have, and I'm very pleased. They're, like I said, you know, they're the partners that we have that often go unrecognized.
Exactly.
I wanted to mention the snowplowing last snowfall. They were out right away. You know, we've heard complaints that they don't get out right away, but I'm really satisfied the way they do things. They were out. I know some people don't move because we didn't have the 2 or 3 inches they thought they did, but I was really impressed that the city was out quick. It kind of did put a dampener on the ruts that other cities have. I appreciate that. The other thing I wanted to mention, I was so impressed with getting Richfield on the map again with that incident, that event at Holy Angels with the kid with cerebral palsy. They let him play the game. I don't know if you saw that on TV. It was just a great, heartwarming story. He was the manager of the team for 4 years, and the coach made him a promise if he stayed as manager for 4 years, they would let him play a game. Well, they put him in the game, and they let him shoot the one basket, and then he kind of went out of the game. But was interesting, he later came in because they were so far ahead, and he shot a three-pointer. And it was kind of like, how do you top that one? And I just want to thank the people at Holy Angels again for putting Richfield positively on the map. So.
Well, you know, yeah, and you never know just because somebody has some limitations. It's amazing what some people can do, and you shouldn't ever outguess people, huh, like that. That's wonderful. And actually, I don't have anything, and I don't think I can follow that great presentation anyway. I'll wait till next meeting to do that. So council approval of the agenda. I know we need to remove item 4B. Was there also still wanting to be some discussion around 4E and remove of that?
I don't need to remove, Madam Mayor.
No? Okay, so just the removal of 4B. Do I have the council's approval of the agenda?
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor signify by aye.
Aye.
Opposed? We have the consent calendar. City
Thank you,
Manager.
Madam Mayor, members of the City Council. For those at home and those in the audience here, the consent calendar contains several separate items which are acted upon in one motion by the City Council. Once that consent calendar has been approved, the individual items and the recommended actions will also have been approved, and no further action on those items is necessary. Tonight we have about a half a dozen items still left on the consent calendar with the removal of B. And it starts with item A, which is consideration of approval of the first reading of the proposed ordinance amendment to the City Administrative Code, Chapter 3, subsection 31007, subdivision 5, describing background investigations and scheduling, the second reading for March 12, 2013. Item C is consideration of approval of the hiring of WSB and Associates Incorporated to provide a final design service for the Richfield Parkway North connection, that is between 17th Avenue and Bloomington Avenue, related to the Taft Lake Water Quality Improvement Project at a cost not to exceed $65,000. Item D is the consideration of approval of a resolution supporting the submittal of a transit-oriented development grant application to Hennepin County for the Lindale Gardens redevelopment project. Item E is consideration of approval of a resolution approving the conditional use permit for a funeral home at 6501 Nicollet Avenue. Item F is consideration of approval of the land disposition agreement with Hennepin County to develop 2517 76th Street West in accordance with the Community Development Block Grant Program guidelines within 2 years of the date of the agreement, the date the agreement is executed. And finally, item G, consideration of approval of the land disposition agreement with Hennepin County to develop 7316 Clinton Avenue in accordance with the Community Development Block Grant Program guidelines within 2 years of the date the agreement is executed. And that concludes tonight's consent calendar.
I'll move the consent calendar.
Second.
Any other discussion? All those in favor signify by aye.
Aye.
Oppose? Motion carries. And we removed item 4B.
Well, I don't know who wants to lead this, perhaps the city attorney or,
I can do that.
Toss for it, guys.
This item, we're just asking for it to be pulled. There was a really minor revision to one of the purchase agreement addenda to clarify a minor issue.
So it'll be brought to us at a later date?
Excuse me?
Do you want to bring it back to a later date, or do you want to move it now with exchanges?
No, it can be, the revised language is in front of you.
Okay.
So it's
Oh,
ready,
that's right.
it's ready for
Okay.
adoption.
Okay.
The one that's in front of you tonight at the dais is in
Is the corrected
substitution
one?
of the one that was in the agenda packet.
And what was the substitution and the problem with the agreement and the other one?
Well, the minor change was to clarify that
30 days holdover.
this property owner has the ability to either lease the property after the closing date for a certain amount of rent, or to live there for 30 days only without payment of rent, to allow
Okay.
transition of housing.
Okay, all right.
Madam Mayor, I'll move that,
We'll read it.
which includes the changes. And let's see, where is that? Why don't you go ahead?
Okay, I'll make the motion then to approve the agreement for the purchase of the property located at 6314 17th Avenue for Richfield Parkway Improvement Project and related addendum, approving addendum to purchase agreement to property located at 6332 17th Avenue, and the addendum that is before us here.
I'll second.
Any other discussion? All those in favor signify by aye.
aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Edwina, you might as well get going.
Okay, this is item number 6 on your agenda. This is a public hearing. And what we want to do tonight is approve the attached resolution which authorizes the use of funds for the 2013 Urban Hennepin County Community Development Block Grant, and authorize the execution of a subrecipient agreement with Hennepin County and any required third-party agreements. So the CDBG grants, Community Development Block Grants, are awarded, and it's federal money, and it's awarded on a formula basis from the Department of Housing and Urban Development. And most of these funds will go to affordable housing, community development, and public services. An application for the proposed use of these monies are due by February the 28th of this month, in fact. Richfield's estimated collection and allocation is to be $178,369. But that may vary depending on what exactly we do. You know, there might be some changes as to what we do receive from the federal government. The city can use up to 15% or $26,755 as its CDBG allocation to fund eligible public services. The following service organizations have all been funded in the past, including last year, and have requested funds totaling $26,755 for 2013. And the first one is HOME, which is the Senior Community Service Organization, And HOME stands for Household Outside Maintenance for the Elderly. It's a program that allows senior citizens to stay home and to, excuse me, and, oh, geez,
Take a walk.
excuse me a minute. And to qualify, you have to be 60 years old or older, or disabled. And it covers home maintenance, and it covers also some chores that need to be done around the house. And in last year, there were 112 Richfield households that qualified and received those services. The next one, and they will receive $16,053. The next one is Homeline, excuse me again, which is not to be confused with the previous home. And this is a tenant hotline, and it provides information and advice to a tenant landlord about the procedures, maintenance, repair issues, management responsibilities in the event of foreclosure. And last year, 176 Richfield households received this assistance. The third one, and right now they will be receiving 5,351. The third one is the Community Action Partnership for Suburban Hennepin, CASP. CASP provides for foreclosure prevention counseling, loan assistance, first home buyer education and counseling, financial literacy, budget counseling, reverse mortgage counseling, and home repair and maintenance counseling and education. There were 66 Richfield households that relied and received that assistance last year. Of the remaining 98,000 proposed funds allocated, those will go to the HRA for acquisition of property to be developed for future affordable single-family housing. The final $53,614 is proposed to be allocated to the Housing and Redevelopment Authority, HRA, for the deferred loan program, which provides no interest 30-year deferred loans to low-income homeowners to address health, safety, and property maintenance needs. This program is administered for the city by the county, and so far there's a waiting list of 23 households waiting for this. This allocation of funds happens on a yearly basis, and at least 70% of those receiving CDBG monies will have to benefit very low and low income persons. Applications for the public service portion of the funding were distributed to eligible public service agencies, and funds were divided among the agencies that were requested funding. The application is due on the 28th of this month, and we must have a public hearing before we submit the application, and third-party agreements are prepared annually with each of the public service agencies. We think that we're going to be receiving $178,369. That might be a little less or a little bit more, depending on what we are allocated by the Hennepin County, subject to the federal monies. I know that we do. I don't know if we have anyone here from home.
Well,
Okay,
this
good.
is a public hearing. We'll open the public hearing, and you can please come up and state your name and come up to the podium and speak, and please make sure to sign in.
Good evening. Thank you, Mayor and City Council members, for inviting me to speak this evening. My name is Debbie Ross-Daska, and I am the program coordinator for the HOME program, which again stands for Household and Outside Maintenance for the Elderly, and it is a program of senior community services. I want to thank you for your previous support, which has helped the Richfield residents, the Richfield seniors, remain independent in their own homes. And again, this is a program for older adults who are 60 years and older, and if they're disabled as well. Older adults spend a lot of time worrying about how they are going to get the help and the services they need to stay in their own homes. Home hires trustworthy workers to help older adults to maintain their houses and to keep them clean and safe. So we help with the snow removal, which we've been very busy doing this winter. We help with lawn mowing. We help with house cleaning and home maintenance in terms of the handyman can do minor home repairs. We help paint. And we also partner with a lot of area volunteer groups to provide free spring and fall yard cleanup, weeding, painting, and window washing. For example, last year we had a total of 600 hours in volunteer service were provided to the senior citizens in Richfield. And I just want to share a story with you. In November last fall, a volunteer group from the National Karate School helped a Richfield homeowner, and I'll call her Dorothy. Dorothy is an 89-year-old woman who lives alone, and I'd like to share her comments with you. She said, "Thank you for sending me all the help for putting my house, garden, and deck to bed for the winter. The 8 volunteers got right to work washing windows, cutting plants and weeds in the garden, carrying pots and furniture into the basement, and generally making everything neat and tidy. A couple of days later, the home handyman came and put plastic on the inside of my windows. The house is snugger already thanks to him. This was really a delightful experience." Home continues to strive to increase the number of adults we serve, as well as the number of jobs and hours completed. So as was mentioned, we helped 112 seniors in Richfield in 2012. We would very much like to continue to reach out to the senior citizens in Richfield, and we thank you for your support. In case you need to call home, the number is 952-888-5530. Any questions?
No, we forgot to mention the fact that clients pay on a sliding fee basis.
Yes, thank you. We try to keep things affordable for seniors by providing the sliding fee scale, and the CDBG money, of course, helps to support the sliding fee scale. And again, the volunteer services are free.
Good. Thank you. And do we have anyone here from Community Action Partnership? Good. You know, this is, usually we have Martin Kirsch here in the audience, and I bet you that he's back here celebrating with our first responders, but he's chair of Community Action Partnership. And so I know he'll be sorry that he missed this, but as long as he's having his cake and coffee, I guess it's okay. Yeah.
Good evening, Mayor, City Council members. I'm Carol Watson. I'm a community developer with Community Action Partnership, suburban Hennepin County. We have enjoyed a really long history with the City of Richfield, providing services to low to moderate income households to help them stay in their homes, help them out of financial difficulties so that they can maintain their homes or find a suitable solution to a foreclosure problem, and also homebuyer education, counseling, and other programs. We're requesting $5,500, and I believe our allocation is about $5,300, for which will be eternally grateful again for another year. It's been a wonderful partnership, and we feel really good about our presence in the community of Richfield. Our program is jointly funded by the Consolidated and the Urban Pools. CAPSH is the only, to our knowledge, only HUD-approved housing services agency serving suburban Hennepin County. To give you an idea of the program access for your residents, Edwina mentioned that we serve 66 households. 45 of those households were in foreclosure prevention counseling. There's a really interesting national statistics that residents who are in foreclosure, and if they use counseling services, are 60% more likely to have a positive outcome on their foreclosure and their mortgage. We counsel on loans. We work to work with lenders to forgive second mortgages. We do one-on-one counseling. Our counseling is private, and we feel just exceptionally proud of the results that we have in our foreclosure prevention and counseling programs. We also have homebuyer education, and that's for first-time homebuyers. Potential homebuyers go through an education course, and we are finding that lenders are starting to require that for first-time homebuyers to make sure that they're qualified and actually understand what the requirements are and the financial and maintenance obligations are of a home. We had 16 residents participate in that program with us. We also do homebuyer counseling, and that's to make people really financially ready for a mortgage. We help them improve their credit scores if they have credit issues, and that's also another one-on-one counseling service. Usually those people have gone through our first-time homebuyer course and then move on into personal counseling. We had 2 Richfield participants in that program in program year 2012. We do reverse mortgage counseling. There's a lot in the press about reverse mortgage counseling. I think it's important to know that we do not promote reverse mortgage counseling. We are an agency that provides free one-on-one counseling services so that eligible seniors are aware that it may not always be the best solution for them, and we're really very diligent in making sure that they don't enter into an agreement like that without understanding all the financial consequences. It's a program that through the press sounds like a really great deal, another quick cash program, but it can have some huge financial ramifications. And then we do home repair and maintenance. In reverse mortgage, we did 3 households, Richfield households, in program year 2012. We'd also do home repair and maintenance. We did not have any participants from Richfield this year, but we anticipate that next year we'll probably have more participants. We're seeing a little bit of a slowdown in foreclosure prevention counseling, but an increase in the homebuyer education and in the rehab. So we are cross-training all of our counselors and getting them certified so that we can adjust our resources to address the changing market needs. So we thank you for your continued support. We look forward to another successful year in 2013. Our phone number for home services is 952-933-1993. Thank you very much.
And thank you very much for your...
questions?
Beg your pardon?
Any questions?
No, I don't
Okay,
think
good.
so.
Thank you.
But thank you very much for your attendance and for the services that you provide for our citizens. Madam Mayor, this is a public hearing, so.
Is there anyone from Homeline?
Oh, any other services here?
Other services?
I move to close.
Second.
All those in favor signify by aye.
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 Opposed? The
So-
public hearing is closed.
I move that we approve the attached resolution authorizing the use of funds for the 2013 Urban Hennepin County Development Block Grant Program and authorize the execution of a subrecipient agreement with Hennepin County and any required third-party agreements.
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor signify by aye.
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 Motion carries.
And Madam Mayor, I'd just like to bring up a little business here. I'd like to make a motion to excuse Councilmember Sandall for this meeting.
I'll second that motion. Any discussion? All those in favor signify by aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you.
Item 7 is consideration of a resolution approving the contract with the International Union of Operating Engineers Local 49 for the contract period January 1st, 2013 through December 31st, 2014. City staff has completed labor negotiations with the International Union of Operating Engineers, Local 49 Union. The provision of the 2013-14 contract cover all the employees in the union, which consists of 39 city employees, including the public works, mechanics, and water plant operators. The tentative approved settlement includes the following significant changes. Wages, a 2% increase for contract year 2013 and reopener for contract year 2014. Health insurance, a $35 increase to the employer health insurance contribution, which provides up to a maximum contribution of $619.50 per month for single employee coverage, $950 per month for employee plus spouse or employee plus children's coverage, and $1,000 per month for employee plus family coverage. A $5 increase to the employer contribution for employee single dental insurance coverage from $40 per month to a $5 per month. A contract reopener would occur in 2014 for health insurance rates. Seniority. The city proposes the following language change to this article. Seniority will be determining criteria for promotions and layoffs when all job-relevant qualification factors are equal. For purpose of layoff, seniority may be affected by classification. The three classification work groups are public works, workers, mechanics, and the water plant. Working out of classification, WOC it's called, another acronym. Effective July 1st, 2013, a 15-cent increase in the specialist pay rate from $1.35 an hour to $1.50 per hour. Blacktop paver added to heavy equipment listed eligible for WOC. Water utility monitor assignment added as assignment eligible for WOC. Tree injection specialist was added to the specialist list. Probably going to need those for the Emerald Ash Borer for a while. Effective January, this is licensure and certificate pay. Effective January 1st, 2013, a 25-cent increase to the pyramid cap of concurrent specialized pay from $1.50 to $1.75. Effective January 1st, 2013, a 5-cent increase for the following licensure pay rates. Class B water and Class B wastewater from 65 cents per hour to 70 cents per hour. Class A water from 80 cents per hour to 85 cents per hour. Boiler license from 65 cents per hour to 70 cents per hour. The city has met the negotiations in good faith with the union and its representatives and is bound under the Public Employers Labor Relations Act to meet and bargain over the terms and conditions of the employment. So at this time, I would ask the council to adopt the resolution approving the provisions of the 2013-2014 labor agreement with the International Unions of Operating Engineers, Local 49 Bargaining Union, and authorize the city manager to execute the agreement.
So moved.
Is there any discussion?
I have to ask the assistant city manager who negotiates the contracts, what is a pyramid cap of concurrent specialized pay?
Council Member Elliott and rest of the City Council. Good question. As you can see, this is this particular contract is quite complicated, and I think what we always strive to do is recognize the important contributions that each of our public works workers, and various employees within this bargaining unit do within the concept of they work with a lot of heavy equipment, and there's a lot of good work that's done if they get licensure and certification pay. But ultimately, the pyramid cap means you cannot earn more now than $1.75 in all of these extra pay per hour, if you will. It will be capped at now $1.75 an hour.
Okay. So it's an additional honorarium almost for continuing to rise.
No, right.
No, well, not honorarium may be a wrong thing. It's,
actually, it's almost just the opposite. It says that, what we have in place is we're trying to reward people for getting the kind of certifications we need to have. For example, if someone goes out and gets a Class A water license, that's something that's very important to have. Mm-hmm. And at the same time, they may qualify for some other premium pay for a piece of equipment that they're operating. Those two things might add up to more. What the current cap is a $1.50. So let's say that somebody had some kind of premium pay of 80 cents for something they did, and then another premium pay for a piece of equipment they were operating. Those two things together, when they hit a $1.50, it stops. They don't earn all of their money beyond the cap. Okay. So if they had two or three different things together, it still caps off at $1.50, and now we've raised that cap. And that's because Some of the things that they have to do, so like some of the certifications and the Public Works Certificate Program, is a very significant undertaking on their part. And, you know, what we find is that if we don't allow them to earn some of those premiums that are in the contract because they're up against the cap, then they say, well, why do it?
Okay,
Yep.
thank you.
You know, as long as we're talking about that, I do want to say that, and part of what we did here, it's probably not apparent to you, but this whole idea of seniority, the seniority language change that Pam worked hard to negotiate, that was very important to the city, extremely important to the city, because the way the language read in the contract, it made it very, very cumbersome and sometimes very expensive for the city to do the kind of recruitment and promotion that we wanted to do, and put in question as to, you know, what were our rights and what were the union's rights with respect to this. And this was a very important clarification that Pam was able to negotiate.
Well, I just want to thank the city and the city staff, too. Every year we have to negotiate, you know, these union contracts, and I know it's a long, tedious, and there's always the give and take and everything, and we've always had really good relationships with our unions, and I have to thank our city staff for trying to be as fair and open and as honest, and I know that they have done some great things for the city. They have taken 0% increases for the city to keep jobs, and I want to thank all of them for doing that. I think it was a tough decision, and I'm really glad that we're not like other cities where we have a constant battle between our unions and the staff. Okay, there's a motion. It's been seconded. All those in favor signify by aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. The next item is item 8. This is consideration of the attached resolution authorizing an inter-fund loan with the Richfield Housing and Redevelopment Authority and within the Cedar Avenue Tax Increment Financing District, and approving a cooperative agreement with the Richfield Housing and Redevelopment Authority. The City of Richfield has ordered the Richfield Parkway Phase 2 project, which includes reconstruction and widening of the Richfield Parkway. Due to the significant amount of right-of-way that is needed for the project, the city has determined it necessary to acquire 14 properties on 17th Avenue. The Housing and Redevelopment Authority has previously purchased 2 of those parcels that are needed for the project. At the January 7th, 2013 Special Housing and Redevelopment Authority meeting, the HRA Board approved the process to acquire 12 remaining properties using special assessment bonds to be issued by the city. The properties to be acquired are located within the Cedar Avenue Tax Increment Financing District within the Richfield Development Project area. The properties are initially to be acquired by the city, and once the purchase is processed, the project is completed, the properties would then be conveyed to the HRA. The properties would then be specially assessed as part of the special assessment process. Accordingly, the HRA would then be responsible for the annual payment of the special assessment portion of the debt service for the bonds. Staff is recommending that the HRA prepay the special assessment with funds from the city permanent improvement revolving fund. An inter-fund loan would then be established between the HRA and the city's PIR fund. And at this time, I'm going to turn this over to city staff because I've asked them just to give us a little further explanation on the fund and how this transaction takes place.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Essentially, what we're trying to accomplish here is to give the HRA some financial flexibility. If we would have followed the normal special assessment process, which right now is planned to happen in the fall of 2014, they would be immediately start having to pay on the special assessments in 2015. And also, it just seemed inefficient to me to go through the process, certify the assessment to the county, then have the county bill the HRA, have the HRA bill the county, then the county pay the city. It just seemed inefficient use of funds and things like that. But the primary goal was to give the HRA some flexibility. And the way the loan has been structured is that once the loan has been approved and everything and is in place, we're going to set the interest rate at 0% for the first 2 years, no payment for the first 2 years, and then 1% thereafter, and the HRA would not have to make any payments then. The first payment would not happen until 2017, so that essentially gives us almost 4 years for the HRA to seek a developer for the site, and hopefully when a developer is found, if there's either a transaction with proceeds from the sale of the land, or if that is not the case, or if it's only a smaller portion, then we can hopefully use tax increment financing from that redevelopment. And worst case scenario, we would use legally, we use funds that are legally available from the HRA to start paying on the internal loan.
It gives us a lot of flexibility. Any questions?
And one other thing too, I just, once the prepayment occurs, then we're gonna take that prepayment amount and use that to pay down the par value, or the balance of, or pay down what's owed on the debt, which would be about a $780,000 payment, and that would happen in February of 2015 also. So that helps tremendously in terms of P&I payments going forward.
Well, and that gives us a lot of time to try to get the right development in there too as we start to look forward. So thank you for looking at that in a different, fashionable way. Appreciate that. So I'll make the motion to approve the attached resolution authorizing an interfund loan for advance of certain costs in connection with property located within the Cedar Avenue Tax Increment Financing District, and approval of the cooperation agreement with the Richfield Housing and Redevelopment Authority.
So moved.
Second.
Any other discussion? All those in favor? Signify by
Aye.
aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Councilmember Fitzhenry, of course.
Thank you, Madam Mayor, and I don't want him to leave probably on this one. Item under consideration is a consideration of the attached resolution awarding the sale of $3,120,000 in general obligation improvement bonds, Series 2013A. At the January 22nd, 2013 council meeting, the City Council approved resolution providing for the sale of $3,120,000 general obligation improvement bond series 2013A. Rather than go through the whole thing, it's about issuance of bonds so we can take care of the Richfield Parkway Phase 2 project, which is Richfield Parkway between 63rd and 65th Street, and the improvements and the reconstruction, the widening of the roads, separate bike trails, boulevards, reconstruction of curbs, placement of certain utilities. In addition, it would require the acquisition of 14 properties located on 17th Avenue, of which 2 properties already have been purchased by the HRA authority. What I'll do is go ahead and turn it over to city staff, and they can explain exactly what we're trying to do and why we're doing it.
Well, I think you pretty much covered it. It's to help fund the project, the land, and also to purchase the properties. And I have Rebecca Kurtz here from Ehlers and Associates to basically go over the sale process and the results of the sale process.
Good evening, Madam Mayor, members of the council. I'm Rebecca Kurtz with Ehlers and Associates. And as was mentioned today in our office, we did take bids on the $3,120,000 general obligation improvement bonds, Series 2013A, to finance the Richfield Parkway project. Just to start out, and this actually does apply to both of the bonds that we'll be discussing tonight, as part of the process prior to taking the bids, we did have the bonds rated by Standard & Poor's, as we have done in the past. And I would like to congratulate you. Standard & Poor's did reaffirm the city's AA+ long-term rating. There is a complete rating report, which I'm not going to read all of, but I would like to, for the record, highlight a few of the comments that were made by Standard & Poor's. They talk about reaffirming the AA+ long-term rating and also providing a stable outlook based on several reasons, including the participation in the Minneapolis-St. Paul economic base, the good incomes and strong per capita market values. They state that the $75,350 per capita market value they view as being very strong. They continue to say that the city's financial position is very strong, as demonstrated by very strong reserves and additional liquidity outside of the general fund. They talk about the unassigned general fund balance at 36% of expenditures, also something that they view as very strong. And then also they recognize your continued practice of reducing the dependence on the local government aid, which, as you know, we've watched over the past, at least in history, be cut with time. So they commend you for looking at ways to move forward and not or decreasing your dependence on those funds. They also go on to say the city's management practices are strong under Standard & Poor's financial management assessment methodology, indicating that practices are strong, well-embedded, and likely sustainable. They do not expect the stable outlook that they've assigned to change the rating within the 2-year horizon of the outlook because they believe the city will maintain current reserves and prudent financial management policies. The city's status as an employment center and its participation in the Twin Cities economic base provide further rating stability. So, and like I said, there is a complete report that you could view. But with that, I just want to again say congratulations. It's definitely something to be proud of and a reflection of the hard work from the council and the city staff with relation to your finances and development. So with that, as I mentioned, the AA+ rating reaffirmed from Standard & Poor's. On the improvement bonds, we did receive 5 bids. I believe there's a packet that was distributed that summarizes it. The low bidder on the improvement bonds was United Bankers Bank, which is based in Bloomington, and they provided a true interest cost of 2.177%. In the packet, there are several comparisons that you can take a look at, but I'd like to highlight a couple of them. Again, the par amount of the bonds is the $3,120,000. However, we did receive a premium on this, which in very simple terms means they provided more funds than what we had needed or what were required. That was in the amount of $76,365. Those were deposited to the project fund, which is not uncommon in a situation like this. In the extent that those are not used for the project, they then would be put into the debt service fund, and it could be used to decrease the levy or pay the payments at a point in the future. With that, we saw there's a comparison. There was a slightly lower cost or discount than what we had estimated, and the capitalized interest also was slightly lower. As Mr. Regis said, on the structure of these, if you do look at the payment schedule, it was structured so that the levy portion of this will be relatively equal over the term of the debt. However, there is a large principal payment for the first payment, which is that prepayment from the assessments or the HRA. So we will be able to buy down basically a large portion of the principal immediately and save on some interest costs with that. With that, again, there are details of all of the bids as well as a copy of the debt service, final debt service schedule in the packet, and I'm happy to answer any questions. Again, we're recommending that you do award the bonds to United Bankers Bank at the rate of 2.177, and there is a resolution if you choose to move forward.
Any questions? Okay, very good job. You always do a great job. I don't know how we get
I wish I could take credit for it.
Okay, so hopefully I'll get this resolution right. By motion, approve the attached resolution awarding the sale of general obligation improvement bonds series 2013A in the original aggregate principal amount of $3,120,000, fixing their form and specifications, directing their execution and delivery, and providing for their payment. And we're going to award that to United Bankers Bank in Bloomington, and the rate was 2.1770. Am I correct?
Correct.
Okay.
Second. Discussion. I just want to thank the city staff. It's always so nice to get such a great financial report, and it's due to the management at the city level, Mr. Regis and city manager Steve Devitt. Thank you very much. All those in favor signify by aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Councilmember Elliott, you are next up.
Thank you, Mayor. This item is the consideration of the attached resolution awarding the sale of $2,770,000 in general obligation stormwater revenue bonds, Series 2013B. At the February 12, 2013 City Council meeting, the City Council approved a resolution providing for the sale of $2,770,000 general obligation stormwater revenue bonds, Series 2013B. In conjunction with the Richfield Parkway North Connection Project, the city has entered into a memorandum of understanding with the Minnehaha Creek Watershed District regarding the construction of a regional stormwater treatment facility, including treatment for Legion Lake and Taft Lake, the Legion Taft Lake Improvement Project. The project is expected to begin design work and right-of-way acquisition in late winter or early spring 2013. Pursuant to the MOU, the city and MCWD have agreed to work cooperatively to define the exact scope of the project and to complete the project. Accordingly, the city and the MCWD have created a cooperative agreement regarding each of their roles and responsibilities regarding the various details of the project, including the design, financing, construction, operation, and maintenance of the project. City Council approved the cooperative agreement at the October 9, 2012 City Council meeting. Once again, as part of the cooperative agreement, the city will issue general obligation stormwater revenue bonds pursuant to Minnesota Statute Chapter 444. There are a couple little hooks in this one, and I think to a certain extent the mayor is somewhat Machiavellian in making her assignments, because I had some concerns about this, and she always manages to put it back on my plate when I'm up here trying to get it passed. So, Machiavellian probably is a good word. But anyhow, as part of the issue of the stormwater bonds, the city will require the MCWD to agree to pay stormwater utility charges sufficient to pay principal and interest on the bonds and all costs incurred with the issuance of the bonds. Portions of the project will be constructed on property of the Metropolitan Airports Commission. The city and the MAC have an existing park and recreation facilities lease agreement covering the property that portions of the project will be constructed on. If the MAC should cancel this agreement and the project ceases its ability to perform due to the loss of the land rights from the MAC, obligation of the MCWD to make stormwater utility payments to the city will cease, and the city will take over any remaining bond payments. I had some issues with this just from based on my training and everything, and I was talked off the cliff, and I'm going to let the staff explain why I was talked off the cliff and why my concerns, while legitimate, were not something that we had to be overly concerned or really worried about. I think Mr. Eastling was the one that offered the explanation that finally calmed the waters.
Well, Councilmember, actually, because you were with me on this stormwater that night in Deep Haven, we'll never forget. We'll never get it back. This is your baby.
That was, yeah, I agree. And Mr. Eastling was wonderful in getting that shepherd through. My concern is letting the MAC sit back and let us pay for it, and if it ceases, we still pay for it, and they still own the property. So I had some concerns with that, but once again, like I said, I got the explanations that calmed me.
Mayor, members of the council. The concern is with the MAC reservation. They agreed to allow us to put that on their property. They won't make any guarantees that they won't sometime in the future have a need to use that land for airport purposes. They will not give up that right. It's a right that they have, and they don't see a reason to give that up. So if sometime in the future they choose to do that, if some of the improvements that we have in place are disturbed and they can no longer operate effectively, we're responsible to make sure that to pay the bond if they can no longer perform that function. Now, as a practical matter, they'd have to fill in the lake and do stuff right up next to the lake to prevent us from doing that. So, one, as a practical matter, would they ever do anything over there? It's unlikely. And secondly, if they did, there is a lake that is now a bed of public waters that would have to be affected, that we'd have to stop being able to have our operation next to that. They'd have to kind of fill in the lake in order to prevent us from doing it. So as a legal matter, we took on that risk when we saw that the likelihood of ever having anything affect the operation of these stormwater improvements is highly unlikely.
And at least, and once again, until such time as the MAC, if they ever do take that action, the Minnehaha Watershed District is taking care of it doesn't become our obligation until the MAC either decides it wants to use or make use of the property that we're
Right.
That's on. So as it stands right now, we're not obligated. It's only, there's a couple moving parts that have to take place that are highly unlikely before we actually have to start paying it off.
You know, and I should have probably said too, this is only during the life of the bond. If something happens 25, 30 years out, well, the bond is paid for, and so there is no compensation after that. So if something happens in the near term that I don't think anybody can imagine, but if something like that happens, then we have to talk about what portions of that project are not being done.
Okay, and then with that being said, I mean, this was a kind of a collateral, a joint offering with the 2013 A series, right?
They are two separate issues, but they were sold at the same time under the same official statement. However, I do have a different bid tab and different results for this one.
Please let us.
So as stated, the $2,770,000 general obligation stormwater revenue bonds were also sold today. The rating information that I summarized in the previous issue applies also to this. On this issue, we did receive 4 bids. I believe there's a separate packet that summarizes those sales today. Baird out of Milwaukee, Wisconsin was the low bidder with a true interest cost of 2.2604%. Also on this one, we did receive a premium of $43,331 above what we had requested. You will also see that there was some savings from the discount or the fee that the underwriter can take. It was about $30,000 less than what we had estimated or what was legally allowed for them to take under the terms of the official statement. So with that, again, I'm happy to answer any questions. As discussed, the agreement with the watershed district ultimately is in place to pay the debt service. However, I do just want to note they are general obligations of the city. But we are recommending awarding to Baird at the rate of 2.2604%.
And I know we took this on to do the financing through us so that we could move this project forward, and it was a joint agreement with the watershed and ourselves. And I want to, again, thank staff for coming up with that idea. I think that also made this project possible.
I would like to say that it's amazing. I remember going out and at the board and Mr. Eastling being really excited and concerned about the possibilities because we were trying to do something they'd never done before. And now it comes to fruition, and I have to admit it's one of the more rewarding accomplishments that I participate in. I certainly can't take credit for it, but that you participate and you see it come to fruition, it really is, it's rewarding in terms of working for your city. And I appreciate Mr. Eastling, the one having the vision to get it in motion and kind of shepherding it through.
Okay.
Oh, with that, I would move to approve the attached resolution providing for the sale of general obligation stormwater revenue bonds, Series 2013B, in the original aggregate principal amount of $2,770,000, fixing their form and specifications, directing their execution and delivery, and providing for their payment.
Second. Other discussion? All those in favor signify by aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
And those funds will be available on March 21st.
Wow, fast. Thank you. Thank you, Rebecca, for all your great work. City Manager's report.
I really don't have a specific report. You know, I guess I would say that, you know, you folks in Richfield probably have heard that Best Buy Corporate had a layoff announced today of about 400 so people. And I guess I want to make sure that residents understand that, you know, as we view this, it's some actions that Best Buy is taking to, you know, reestablish themselves in the marketplace and to make them financially sound as a corporation. I don't see any adverse impact on the city of Richfield at this point from those layoffs, and I don't think that citizens ought to be concerned from the city's perspective. Of course, we're concerned about any employee that loses their job that's laid off, and I imagine there are some of those folks that live in Richfield, and obviously there's concern for those people.
When I got the call today from Best Buy, it was nice. First of all, they always call us, which is I much appreciated. The 400 employees, last day will be Friday. They were all alerted today. this is a restructuring so that they can be economically viable for a very long time. And Best Buy has reconfigured a lot of their stores and everything, and I think they have a very good long-term strategy. They are providing for large severance packages, very generous, and also outplacement services for their employees. And I hope that I know the city will be open to helping any way that we can, and I told them to please call if they needed any other assistance. And I just wanted to thank the staff for you. We placed that hard water in there for you, Steve, on purpose. It's a new product, you know. Solid water, we call it. And for that really parched feeling. We're all laughing up here because the water is, some of it was frozen to the refrigerator. And so you've heard the clunks and everything on here. That's the hard water bottles that we're talking about, the solid water. Rather humorous. Claims and payroll.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor signify by aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Mayor, I forgot, I should have
One
done
further
one other
business?
quick announcement.
Please.
We did finalize a concurrent meeting with the school board.
Saw that.
And just to remind that, and folks at home who might want to attend that meeting, you know, once a year we have a concurrent meeting with the school board, and we switch off hosting it. This year it's the school board's turn to host the meeting. So it's going to happen on Monday night, April 1st.
April Fool's Day?
I didn't want to say that. I'm glad you said that. I didn't say that. And so that's when the meeting's going to be held. I believe it's at 6 o'clock. Cheryl, is that correct? 6 o'clock, and it goes for about an hour.
Okay, please make sure you get that on your calendars.
Thank you.
And this will be held at the...
At the school board.
At the school board room, yep.
Yes, okay. I'm seeing no further action. I call the meeting adjourned. Thank you. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you.